Hello and welcome this February 5th, 2022. It is a Saturday. I am your host, Gray, and welcome to another episode of the Misfits of the Galaxy vlog series, where I go through my various thought processes and design my notes when it comes to putting together a campaign setting for my fellow podcast members from the Isle of Misfit Rolls. If you haven't heard of the Isle of Misfit Rolls before, I'll put links down below. We have been running adventures through the world of Vertes, which was created by our DM Mike, for I'd say at least a year and a half now, and we have season one all completely out by this point. Additionally, we are looking forward to doing season two of the Isle of Misfit Rules podcast, and we're actually going to transition over to live stream Twitch, where you'll be able to see our reactions in real time, and this ugly mug all the time. So if you want to tune in, that's great. It's going to be on Tuesdays. I think it's around 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If not, that's fine too. I hope that whoever's listening to this will get some insight into my development process, and hopefully people will take away something from it. So, if anyone listened to the last episode of Misfits of the Galaxy, I was pondering the idea of inviting one of the players to start listening to the video blog series, just to get their input and insight and see how excited they are about it. I invited Adam, who is the player of Almas, our Githyanki diviner, to start listening. He got super stoked about the situation. He had a few questions about the setting, which I hadn't really thought too much about, since I was initially going to just simply pick a race like a hobgoblin, for example, or maybe a class like a diviner wizard, and just run with it this episode. But since he inquired about space travel, I think I'm going to start there. And if I have time for some other subject, I'll throw it in at the end of this episode. And if you're listening to this, Adam, hey Adam, great idea, man. So space travel is typically done by ships in this, like starships in this setting. The reality of the matter is magic can only get you so far. Teleportation is often supposed to be just on a single world. Flight, while you can fly through the reaches of space easily enough, the distances are incomprehensible in comparison to the actual speed that you can fly at. Same with polymorphing into another, or wild shaping into a creature that can fly, and additionally, like casting spells like planular traveling or shifting or whatever you want to call it. While that will get you to another plane of existence, it's not really designed to get you to a different location. I'm gonna probably end up tweaking teleport so that it allows you to teleport not just from across the surface of a world, but additionally to anything in orbit, like low orbit. So if there's a ship currently stationed in low orbit uh, of a planet, you should be able to teleport up to it or down to the surface. It just makes traveling to the surface that much easier. Additionally, I think it'd be really cool to use teleport in ship-to-ship combat when you're trying to board your enemies. Uh, the I'm going more like with the Spelljammer route, where the vacuum of space doesn't exist for the most part. Instead, it is um, it is cold. It can be cold or hot, but it's it's an ether or aether, and so there's various technologies to breathe, and you can actually hold your breath out there, just like if you were holding your breath underwater. Um, some species might even be capable of surviving in that sort of environment. But the technology is so readily available to any of the spacefaring races that they don't even think about it anymore. I'm thinking that it might almost be like a permanent enchantment put on most people that travel the space lanes. As for the travel itself, like I said, they use starships. They use sublight technology that is fueled by what are called dark matter engines. Dark matter engines themselves are these magic tech constructs of sort, like not as in like an automaton or anything, but like devices that allow them like to bring it brings various other Magitech devices to life, including the engines of these vessels, and they are powered by the what are called void crystals. I know I'm going through a lot of in-depth details. I do apologize, but I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. So, void crystals are effectively condensed magic to the point that even a small thumbnail sized piece of it could easily fuel a starship for months on end. Uh, the material is extremely rare to come by and difficult and dangerous to harvest, as magic doesn't get condensed to that degree unless it is in the unless it's near black holes. So systems that are being devoured by or devoured by black holes slowly are the ideal place to harvest said crystals, which, like I said, makes the mining operations extremely dangerous and like very labor intensive or resource intensive process. But some of the species out there, like the dwarves, have like developed it down to like got it down to a science almost. These mining operations, and since all species require void crystals for space travel, uh, they're always in demand. I'm not saying that the orbiting a black hole is the only place to mine them. Certainly, on some worlds where there has been some sort of giant magical calamity, or the like war or the like, you might find void crystals manifesting um, due to the fact, like, just the magic of the the area itself is slowly condensed over countless millennia. In a very similar manner, it's like almost the idea of taking coal and turning it into a diamond. It just requires a great deal of force and pressure to condense it. Who knows? Maybe there is a recipe yet to be developed where a wizard or sorcerer figures out how to produce these through magical means. Fairly certain alchemists would like kill for such a recipe, but maybe they'll put an adventure about that later on in the campaign when it finally starts running. Who knows? Getting ideas as I go along. Most of these ideas right now, though, I'm playing on the. I'm borrowing a lot of the material from Dark Matter. I'll like from Mage Hand Press. I'll put a link down below to their material. It's all really, really fantastic, and I am in no way endorsed by them whatsoever or sponsored, and they have my two thumbs up for their material. I'll definitely be buying more of it in the future, to say the very least. So even with the dark matter engines, they can't really get any faster than sublight travel to get from one system to another. They have to use these ancient relics called the Maws. Very ominous, isn't it? So the Maws, nobody knows who made these these technological stations. Uh, Clearly, one of the precursor races, before even elves learned how to travel the space lanes. Regardless, the fossilized remains of ancient unknown leviathans of unfathomable size have been turned into stationary space stations throughout the galaxy, where their maws, their mouths, are left situated open, and between their jagged teeth, larger than any spaceships currently designed in the universe, there is this sort of, I won't say sinister presence, but uh, unknown presence of a sort of black nothingness inside of it, which is called the void. Uh, Interestingly enough, so the void functions very similar to that of the warp from Warhammer 40k, in the sense that you can that there's no sense, like, all the rules of reality don't seem to work within it. So space, time, um, gravity, all these things can get thrown out the window in the void. Somehow these stations are interconnected to one another, though, these Moss stations. So entering the void through one of them allows you to exit through another. They're situated through the galactic core and all the way into the outer fringes, and one of the greatest discoveries one can have in the current timeline is to discover a previously unknown Maw station. So because, like, all these rules are kind of thrown out the window, travel between one station and another is almost instantaneous most of the time, where the ship goes in one of the Maws, and then it just comes out the other way, right, through another one. So it's, like I said, it's almost instantaneous, but it puts this great strain on not only the vessel, but the pilot and the navigator and what have you, to the point where uh, an unprotected individual viewing the void can be not only psychologically changed but physically changed from the experience. So pilots actually fly through the void blind, as in their vessels normally have some sort of shielding bulkhead that closes down over the bridge or wherever the pilot is situated, and all the portholes are closed and everything else. And then it flies through the void blind, and the navigators are normally highly trained in the magical arts of divination, and they use not just the magitech technologies that are aboard the ship, but their own magical powers to sort of sense where exactly they are, to properly pilot, to give directions to the pilot to navigate to pilot and navigate the ship, so that there's no unforeseen accidents. Because the passages through the void are 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 like tunnels, but you could easily, like, end up kind of like slipping off the side and out into whatever sort of eldritch horrors or abominations the void are contained within the void. The tunnels themselves are safe, but beyond that, it's like, who knows? Many ships have probably been lost over the countless centuries from traveling through the maws without proper protection, or with a unskilled crew, or combination of pilot and navigator. So, like the Warhammer 40k warp, because I said time and space really doesn't exist in there. Sometimes, while travel is supposed to be instantaneous, sometimes a ship will go in and not emerge for days, weeks, months, maybe even years later from another Maw. if it emerges at all. The other possibility is that in extremely rare circumstances, a ship will go into into one of these into the Maw station's void tunnel and come out actually prior to going in. Same thing, possibly hours, days, weeks, months, maybe even years before the actual vessel, which can get really confusing because like it's like now there's wait a minute, there's two of you in the universe. What's going on, sort of deal? Maybe we'll play around with that later. Who knows? So that's how they work. Nobody's exactly certain who created them or how the technology works. Um, the stations are inhabitable, though. They're breathable atmosphere, temperate temperatures, all maintained by this unique race called the amoeboids, which are almost like the custodians of the Maw stations. Uh, they themselves don't know who created them, but they feel compelled to maintain these vessels and and to be cordial to visitors. Many of them have actually gone out into the universe at large, trying to learn more about their own existence. I'll probably discuss the amoeboids on another episode, to say the very least. Uh, so I think that's all I need to say about space travel today. It's it, I guess it's very similar to. Um, I'm looking for a good analogy for it. Cowboy Bebop kind of comes to mind in the sense that traveling from point A to point B is extremely slow, at least until you get to a sort of jump gate or something similar. Uh, at least that's what I saw in the anime. I haven't had an opportunity to watch the live action series, unfortunately. Though I haven't heard, I've heard mixed things about it. I digress. Space travel in this setting is supposed to be really. It's more getting from point A to point B. It's not meant to be this sort of like Star Trek styles 5-year voyage, etc., etc., etc. It's we want to go to this system over here. Okay, let's take a Maw gate from where we are now to this new location. Bang bang. And if myself as the dungeon master decides something interesting is going to happen somewhere in between, then something interesting is going to happen in between. Uh, Meanwhile, system travel is mostly like, did you encounter stuff like a asteroid belt, aliens traveling through space, maybe another ship for ship-to-ship combat? That's the kind of stuff I'm seeing going on in the dark in this Misfits of the Galaxy campaign setting. Maybe they'll come across an abandoned starship, just derelict, floating out in the far reaches of space. Maybe the party will choose to try to go to the outer rim of known space to explore further out, see if they can find any more Maw stations and get them reattached to the network. Who knows? These are all possibilities for adventuring, obviously. And maybe maybe the adventurers will, or the players will decide that they really want to investigate what these leviathans were, these fossilized remains, or who killed them, or discovered their remains and created the stations, because nobody knows anything about that. Not even the amoeboids. Or perhaps they do, but they're just not saying anything about it. Anyways, I think I've rambled a little bit longer than I anticipated on this subject. I guess next week I'll discuss a little bit further on Maw stations as well as dead magic zones, and I think I may jump into Gnomish Society going off of that. So, I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you found this entire video blog to your liking and that you take something away from it. Uh, like I said, a lot of the material I'm using is being borrowed from various sources that I found to be exciting and interesting, and I hope that it brings together a very imaginative and very lively setting for the players of the Isle of Misfit roles to pursue sometime in the future. Till then, uh, may you always roll a natural 20. Take care.